Let's take a look at the equal values method, which is a way to determine when two lines intersect without having to graph them or make a table. So what we need to start with is always two equations that are written in y equals mx plus b form. And then we need to set those two equations equal to each other. So let's take 2x minus 3 and see where it equals negative x plus 3. So let's start by solving this equation. We'll add x to both sides. And we have 3x minus 3 equals 3. I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and I have 3x equals 6. And after I divide both sides by 3, I see that my x equals 2. Now this x equals 2 is not our answer, but it's going to help us find it. This is the x coordinate of the point of intersection. So over here I'm going to start and say, okay, we know our x will, let's try that again. We know our x will equal 2. And we're now looking to figure out what our y will be when x is 2. So we can take this x equals 2 and plug it back into either that equation or this one and figure out what the y coordinate would be. So I'm going to go with this first one here and just say y equals 2 times 2 minus 3, and y equals 4 minus 3, or y equals 1. Now this is our y coordinate for the point of intersection. And you'll see over here, this is the point where those two lines cross each other. And you could confirm that also by graphing it to see, but you won't need to if you can understand the equal values method. Let's take a look at a second example. Since both of these equations are written in y equals mx plus b form, we can go ahead and set them equal to each other and then solve for x. So we have negative 2x plus 5, and we want to know when that equals x minus 1. So let's add 2x to both sides. So we have some positive x's here. I've got 3x minus 1 on the right, and I have a positive 5 on the left. Now let's add 1 to both sides, and we have 3x equal to 6. And dividing by 3 tells us that our x value for the point of intersection will be 2. Alright, so now I'll use that point to substitute it back into either this equation or this equation, and this time this one looks much easier to work with. So I'll just put x back into this original equation and say y equals 2 minus 1, or y equals 1. So my y coordinate at this point of intersection is 1. And oddly enough, it's got the same point of intersection as the last equation we looked at. Sometimes you'll need to find the point of intersection for lines that are not written in mx plus b form. So the first step we'd have to do here is rewrite each of them in the correct form so that we can set them equal to each other. So let's just kind of split our page up here so we don't get mixed up. And I can just quickly do that by adding 7x to both sides. And now I have y equals 7x minus 5. And over here we can add 13 to each side. And we get y equals negative 2x plus 13. Now that both of our equations are written in mx plus b form, we can go ahead and set them equal to each other and solve. So 7x minus 5 equals negative 2x plus 13. Let's add our 2x to both sides. So now you have 9x. I'm going to do 2 steps in one here and just add 5 to both sides right away. I see that 9x equals 18, or x equals 2. So our x coordinate, we'll just record that down here, is 2. And now we need to figure out what our y coordinate is. Now one important thing I want you guys to pay attention to is when you're taking this x equals 2 and putting it back into the equation to find y, make sure you guys are putting it back into the original equations and not the ones that you rewrote. Okay, because if you made some kind of an error when you were turning it into mx plus b form, you're not going to catch it when you do your check. Alright, so make sure you put it back into one of these original equations up top. And it doesn't matter which one, you can pick the one that looks easier to work with. In this case, I'm just going to choose this one. So I'll say y minus 13 equals negative 2 times 2. So when y minus 13 equals negative 4, if I add 13 to both sides, I get y equals 9. So back over here, I see that my point of intersection for these two lines is at the point 2, 9. So just to recap here, you always want to turn the equations into y equals mx plus b form first, then set them equal to each other, and finally you will solve for x, substitute x back in to the original equation, and then that will allow you to find your y. Alright, and always, 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 guys, remember to write your final answer as a coordinate pair. So that's it. Let me know if you have questions in class, and we'll continue to work on these. Have a great day.